And in one of the videos, I said the most sustainable thing you can do is to not start a fashion brand. And so I'm going to be a big old hypocrite and start a fashion brand. But I am, of course, thinking about ways to do it sustainably. And I was just thinking, what if I didn't sell anything? Hey, party people. Hey, drop me a comment if you've never seen me before, you are unfamiliar with my main channel, and you stumble across this video. So for those of you new here, which is almost everyone because this is my first real video, I just have a short intro video up right now. I have been working in the fashion industry for a minute, okay? I graduated fashion school, worked as a designer in the industry, had my own brand for a few years, and then I started teaching at the university, fell in love with teaching, and decided to do that. And then a few years into it, I started my YouTube channel. And then a few years down the line, the channel got so busy, I quit teaching at the university. And 10 years later, here we are. My main channel, Zoe Hong Teaches, is 10 years old. And it's doing fine. I have not abandoned it. I will continue to make content over there, continue to teach over there. But it's been 10 years. And so it's time for a change. 10 years is a really long time to have a job. It's definitely the longest job I've ever had. So we're at July in Paris, and I don't know, Tuesday, I'm having dinner with my husband. I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to start my own brand. It was something that just came into my head. And let me be clear, all the times during my teaching career, okay, I first started teaching in 2012, okay? So in the 13 years, university, YouTube, overlapping, whatever, okay? In the 12, 13 years I've been teaching, and people are like, oh, are you ever going to start a brand again? And I said, no, I have no plans on it. I was 100% telling the truth. There are definitely moments, even already, where I'm like, this is the worst idea I've ever had. The reason why I threw up the channel so fast is I wanted to do it before I could overthink myself out of it, okay? Like, I am very capable of overthinking myself to death and just deciding not to do it, and then think about it, and then self-flagellate, over and over again. But here's what's going on in my brain, okay? On the one hand, listen, I'm a good teacher. I'm a great teacher even. And that's not ego, that's fact. Do you know how many times I've been told I'm a great teacher by absolute strangers on the internet who have nothing to gain by telling me that they learned so much from this video, that they learned more from me than they have at their own fashion school. Sorry about that for you, okay? That they have been introduced to them because their professor showed my lecture in class. And to that, sorry for me, where's my cut of that tuition money, okay? Like, back when I was at university, the school had a system where you did online reviews of your anonymous online reviews of your teachers, these questionnaires you had to fill out online. So I couldn't even read handwriting or anything like that. And I consistently scored better than the average for the school, average for the department, average for the sub-department. However, all these demos, all these design demos, all these illustration demos where I had to come up with designs on the fly, or even just prepare them a few days in advance. No one's ever told me, wow, Zoe, I love those designs. Wow, Zoe, you're a great designer. Why did you stop designing? Wow, Zoe, you should go back to designing. You're so good at design. Literally no one, okay? Literally no one has ever called me a good designer during my online time. You know who's called me a good designer were old bosses that, when I was working in the industry for other people, they thought I did a good job. They ate up my ideas for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but no one online, all the years where people are like, oh, you're so good at explaining things. You're so, like, you taught me so much. I have pages and pages of notes. Like, no one's ever told me I'm a good designer. No one's ever been like, oh my God, I would so wear that. Like, oh, Zoe, you're so talented. You should go back to, nobody has ever said that. Don't try to tell me now, okay? It's too late. Too late. I heard your silence. I heard your silence. So there's definitely a part of me who's like, maybe I'm not a very good designer. But here's the thing, and this is something I tell my students all the time. People build really big companies, making a ton of money, making the ugliest stuff I've ever seen in my life. Okay, taste, style, design, they're so subjective. They're so subjective. I recently wrote on Threads that I cycle through phases where I feel like it's really about the creativity, and then I cycle through other phases where it's really all about the money. And I am absolutely in my it's all about the money phase. If your business is managed poorly, if your production is managed poorly, if your product isn't produced well, okay? Whether people like your proportions or your fabric choices or your color combinations, if it's produced poorly, okay? If it's manufactured poorly and the business is not run smoothly and you miss deadline, like those are the things that really determine whether your business is going to be successful. Like if you have a marketing plan, a sales plan, you have a PR team, there are so many things that account for the success of a fashion business, any creative business, on top of the creativity. So you know what? I've decided I don't care if you guys don't think I'm a good designer. I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm gonna do it anyway and try to see if I can come up with like business strategies that will work in this current hellscape of an economy. Here are the ideas I've had so far, okay? Just so you know where I'm at in my brain. These are the things I'm chewing on, okay? Number one, my initial idea was to design denim jackets because I love working with denim. I love designing outerwear. Give me all the pockets. I'm not trying to compete with Levi's, where it's more about classic jean jackets, classic shapes, variations thereof, like super wearable, mass market. Like there's already Levi's, and there's already people who are doing this kind of category of like classic denim jackets. And I don't need to throw my hat into that ring. Okay, I'm talking more like Capital, okay, which is like my favorite denim brand in the world. It's not that I want to copy them, but just the idea that denim is a cool way to have something that's wearable, but not necessarily classics. They're like a little bit different. They can veer a little avant-garde. They celebrate denim, but it's not necessarily like the most wackadoo, sculptural, hard to wear, hard to keep, like sort of jacket, but also like, you know what I mean? Like in that middle, I love Capital stuff, but that aesthetic is not exactly me. My personal style is denim head meets Grey Gardens. So I was thinking about that, and then I was talking to my girlfriend who also works in fashion, and she's like, yeah, and then you could, after you perfect those blocks, you could turn them into leather versions, because she knows how much I love designing with leather. Hilarious, because she's vegan, but she knows that I like leather and I have a lot of experience with leathers. And she's like, you can make them into leather pieces. And I'm like, I love that. I love that. When I was in Paris and working backstage, and I just didn't have enough pockets for all my stuff, and I'm like, I need a work apron with like lots of pockets. So I was thinking, what if I made a series of work aprons, kind of as like kind of an introductory, kind of like get my feet wet sort of thing. The other category I really love is evening wear, and like really fantastical evening wear. I don't know. Like that's a harder endeavor for sure. Just the making of things, the technical that's involved. I talk about sustainability all the time, but I've done a few videos where it's strictly Dickly talking about sustainability. And in one of the videos, I said the most sustainable thing you can do is to not start a fashion brand. And so I'm going to be a big old hypocrite and start a fashion brand. But I am, of course, thinking about ways to do it sustainably. And I was just thinking, what if I didn't sell anything? What if I rented everything out? What if I actually did not keep inventory, just had like a few styles and a few sizes, and that's the season and that's it, and you rent them out, you return them, and then at the end of the season, have a big old sample sale, and that's it. Because here's the thing, I have long felt that the best thing that you can do in terms of sustainability is to not produce so much shit. And I mean that in terms of terrible things, but also just period. Like, no matter how sustainable of a product you make, if you overproduce, you've lost the point. You've lost the plot. And so, and I've had this conversation with other people working in the industry, and there's just so much stuff. If you make just enough stuff where it's actually circulating and people are actually using it and reselling it and mending it and passing it on, and okay, stop making so much stuff. Okay, next time you want to produce something, maybe cut that number in half. All right, I know about MOQs. Okay, don't get me started on MOQs. I'm just saying. Okay, stop making so much stuff. So maybe I was like, maybe we just do rentals. Okay, maybe we only do rentals and we don't actually sell anything. This is not the worst idea I've ever had, but it's still like a vague sort of situation, especially for something that's like evening wear, where, I mean, if I were just making t-shirts, and I'm not, okay, I have no interest in making basics. Every other brand is basics. Do we need more basics? No, okay. But if I were making t-shirts, I wouldn't rent t-shirts, of course. People actually wear t-shirts regularly. But for evening wear, do we need to be producing evening wear? No. Another idea I had for sizing, because I know that is something I harp on a lot. The average American woman is a size 12. So what if my average size was a size 12? What if my middle size, so, raise your hand if you've heard me say your sample size should be your middle size, and then you grade up and you grade down a few sizes, okay? And when you make your sample size your middle size, you reduce the amount of distortion you get on either side, okay, of your grade. And so I was thinking, what if I made my sample size a size 12, which is the average American size, and graded up some and graded down some, so that my size range would look something like a 6 to an 18, give or take. Okay, kind of depends on what I'm making, to be honest, okay, and how fitted something needs to be. I was telling this to my girlfriend, and she happens to be one of my thinnest girlfriends, and she was like, what about me? And I'm like, girl, what about you? You got the whole fashion industry at your fingertips. You don't need whatever I'm making. She's like, but I want to wear what you're making. I'm like, girl, you don't even know what I'm making yet. I don't even know what I'm making yet. She's like, still, so. And yeah, she's always been that friend. She's always been that super supportive friend. She's a put your money where your mouth is friend, like support friend. And so I know if I made something in her size, she would buy something, whether she would wear it or not. And, just selfishly, I've been mid-size to like plus. I used to be much bigger. Where are my mid-size besties at? Where sometimes we can find clothes in straight size stores, and sometimes we can find stuff in plus size stores, but sometimes we're too small for plus size, and sometimes we're too big for straight size. And so we go to all these stores and we don't know, but since we're always at the end of the grade, like our stuff fits kind of funky chicken. And wouldn't it be nice if we were the sample size, we were the finessed sample, and our size fit the best? I'm just saying, where are my mid-size besties at, okay? Mid is like 10 to 14, okay? Mid is not the same as medium or middle, okay? Mid-size, okay? It's in between straight and plus. I'll drop a link to my main channel on the off chance you just stumbled upon my video not based off my main channel. Yeah, but drop your questions, comments, share, subscribe, like, all the ways you show me love. And I will see you in the next video.